Hello everybody, welcome to my channel.
Amanda Blake, born Beverly Louise Neill on February 20, 1929, in Buffalo, New York, was a beloved American actress best known for her iconic role as Miss Kitty Russell on the long-running television western Gunsmoke. Her portrayal of the warm-hearted yet strong-willed saloon owner made her one of the most recognizable women in western television. Early life and career: Amanda moved to California in her youth and attended Pomona College briefly. Before pursuing acting full-time, she worked as a telephone operator. Her early interest in performance led to work in summer stock theater, eventually catching the attention of Hollywood. Blake made her film debut in the early 1950s. With appearances in movies such as Cattletown, Miss Robin Crusoe, and A Star Is Born, 1954. Gunsmoke and Fame. Her breakthrough came in 1955 when she was cast as Miss Kitty in Gunsmoke, a role she would play for 19 years until 1974. As one of the core characters, she brought warmth and grit to the show, often serving as the emotional anchor for Marshal Matt Dillon, played by James Arness. Their on-screen chemistry was a highlight of the series. She reprised her role in the 1987 television movie Gunsmoke, Return to Dodge. Animal welfare and personal life: Blake was a devoted animal lover and conservationist. She co-founded the Arizona Animal Welfare League, which remains one of the state's leading no-kill shelters. With her fourth husband, Frank Gilbert, she started a successful breeding program for cheetahs in captivity, helping to raise awareness about endangered species. Amanda was married 5 times. And although she had no children, she surrounded herself with animals and close friends. She was known for her generosity and devotion to causes she believed in. Health and death: in the late 1970s, Amanda survived throat cancer and became active in promoting cancer awareness. She received numerous accolades for her advocacy work. Tragically, Amanda Blake passed away on August 16, 1989. At the age of 60. Her death was attributed to complications from AIDS-related hepatitis, a fact she had kept private during her final years. Legacy: Amanda Blake left a powerful legacy both on-screen and off. As Miss Kitty, she stood as one of the earliest strong female leads on television. Off-screen, her work in animal rights and health advocacy proved that she was as compassionate and determined as the character she portrayed. Her influence continues through the organizations she supported and the fans who remember her fondly. Following her departure from Gunsmoke, Amanda Blake maintained a relatively low profile in Hollywood, but her influence remained significant both through her past work and her personal advocacy. Continued advocacy: and later years after leaving Gunsmoke in 1974, Amanda became increasingly devoted to charitable work. Her love of animals wasn't just a hobby, it became a driving force in her life. She traveled extensively to promote animal welfare and was often involved with wildlife conservation projects, both in the United States and abroad. The cheetah breeding program she co-founded became internationally recognized for its success in maintaining healthy bloodlines of the species in captivity, at a time when few such efforts existed. She also worked with zoos and wildlife organizations to encourage better treatment of exotic animals. Amanda Blake wasn't content to lend her name. She was known for actively engaging in the hands-on aspects of conservation, frequently working with veterinarians, trainers, and researchers. In the late 1970s, she became a national spokesperson for the American Cancer Society after successfully overcoming oral cancer. She traveled the country giving talks, participating in fundraisers, and using her celebrity status to raise awareness about early detection and treatment. Relationships and public persona: although Blake was married multiple times, Her most enduring partnerships were those forged through friendship, professional loyalty, and shared passions, particularly in the areas of television and wildlife protection. Her marriage to Mark Spieth, a city councilman from Austin, Texas, was brief and ended tragically when he died in 1985. It was after his death that Amanda's health began to decline more rapidly. Despite the public's love for her, Amanda Blake was known to be somewhat reclusive in her personal life. She rarely gave interviews and preferred her work with animals and causes over Hollywood parties and premieres. However, those who knew her personally described her as deeply intelligent, witty, and warm-hearted, a woman who had a fierce sense of loyalty and a generous soul. Cultural impact and honors. Amanda Blake's portrayal of Miss Kitty set a precedent for strong female roles in westerns. She didn't play a passive love interest. Kitty was a business owner, emotionally complex, and someone who commanded respect in Dodge City's male-dominated world. Her character helped pave the way for more nuanced female characters in the genre. She was honored with several awards for her humanitarian efforts, including the American Cancer Society's Sword of Hope Award and posthumous tributes from animal rights organizations. In 1968, she was inducted into the Hall of Great Western Performers at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum in Oklahoma City. Final years and death. In her final years, Amanda continued to champion the causes she cared most about, even as her health deteriorated. She died at Mercy General Hospital in Sacramento, California, in 1989 at the age of 60. Although initial reports stated she died of cancer, it was later revealed that she had died of complications from AIDS-related hepatitis, a revelation that brought public attention to the disease at a time when stigma and misinformation were rampant. Her decision to keep her illness private was consistent with her overall approach to fame. Amanda Blake never sought attention for its own sake. Instead, she used her public profile thoughtfully to promote causes that could genuinely benefit from her voice. Professional relationships and on-set reputation. Amanda Blake was widely respected by her colleagues. On the set of Gunsmoke, she forged strong bonds with co-stars such as James Arness, Marshal Matt Dillon, Milburn Stone, Doc Adams, and Ken Curtis, Festus. Though her character and Arness's never officially married on screen, their chemistry and subtle emotional bond became one of television's most enduring in-spoken romances. Off-screen, she and Arness remained close friends for decades. Blake was described as warm, professional, and very protective of her character. She often worked with the writers to ensure that Miss Kitty's storylines were treated with depth and dignity. Over the years, she became a key figure behind the scenes, known for advocating for better working conditions and storylines with stronger roles for women. Small diamond post-Gunsmoke projects. Although Amanda largely stepped away from Hollywood after leaving Gunsmoke, she still appeared occasionally on television. She guest-starred on Heart to Heart, The Love Boat, Match Game, and even appeared in reunion shows and Western-themed specials. In 1987, she made a celebrated return as Miss Kitty in Gunsmoke, Return to Dodge, which aired as a made-for-TV movie. Though in declining health at the time, her appearance was warmly received by fans and critics. Her film career in the 1950s was more modest but included over a dozen films, mostly B-westerns and adventure films, in which she played strong-willed women, often opposite cowboy heroes. These roles helped lay the foundation for the later success of Miss Kitty. Small diamond. Personal philosophy and character. Blake believed strongly in using fame responsibly. She once stated that she didn't care for celebrity for its own sake, preferring privacy and quiet action over headlines and accolades. She reportedly lived by a personal philosophy of compassionate service, whether caring for sick animals or mentoring younger women entering the acting profession. She supported causes related to both wildlife and public health, and though politically private, she was considered progressive in her values. She also raised awareness about the then taboo subject of AIDS after her death, inadvertently becoming one of the first major Hollywood figures to be associated with the disease. Her cause of death, complications from AIDS-related hepatitis, was confirmed by her physician and was a startling revelation at the time, helping to humanize the crisis. Small Diamond. The legacy of Miss Kitty Russell was a landmark character in TV history. At a time when most women on television were housewives, secretaries, or love interests. Kitty was a business owner, a saloon keeper who ran her own affairs, protected those she loved, and navigated life in a rough, often lawless frontier. Blake played her not as a caricature, but as a layered, intelligent woman who often showed more moral clarity than the men around her. Through Kitty, Blake helped bring realism and depth to female characters on TV. Her performance influenced future depictions of women in westerns and dramas and is still referenced in retrospectives about television history. Small Diamond. Posthumous recognition. After Amanda Blake's passing, several awards and honors were either renamed or created in her memory. The Amanda Blake Memorial Wildlife Refuge was established to protect endangered species and honor her conservation work. Her contributions to animal welfare remain a model in conservation circles, and she is still remembered as a pioneer of celebrity activism in this space. In 2006, she was posthumously inducted into the Western Performers Hall of Fame at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum. Small Diamond. Closing thoughts. Amanda Blake was more than just Miss Kitty. She was a trailblazer who used her platform to champion dignity, compassion, and justice, both for humans and animals. Her legacy lives on in every strong female character that graces the small screen and in every animal saved because of her advocacy. Influence on American popular culture. Amanda Blake's role as Miss Kitty came at a transformative time in American television. The 1950s through the 1970s marked a shift from simplistic morality plays to more layered, human-centered storytelling. Kitty Russell was not just a saloon keeper, she was a symbol of female independence during an era when few such representations existed in mass media. Blake's performance humanized the Western genre. She brought warmth, vulnerability, and dignity to a role that could have been easily reduced to a stereotype. Miss Kitty's presence offered viewers an emotional counterbalance to the gunslinging action, embodying themes of compassion, loyalty, and unspoken strength. Audiences connected with her not just because she was a love interest, but because she represented something real, someone weathered by hardship, yet still gentle and hopeful. Her portrayal helped shift public expectations of female characters, and many modern actresses in westerns and dramas credit her as a foundational influence. Small Diamond. Humanitarian work beyond the spotlight. Amanda Blake's devotion to wildlife protection was more than symbolic. She donated generously to the Arizona Animal Welfare League, worked directly with veterinarians, and took part in hands-on wildlife rescue and breeding programs. One of her most ambitious projects was the Cheetah Breeding Initiative, conducted at her home and in partnership with zoos. She helped raise several generations of cheetahs in captivity, a rare and challenging feat at the time. The animals were not kept for vanity, but for education, conservation, and eventual rehoming to preserve their species. She also lobbied for better conditions in zoos and circuses, often behind the scenes. While many celebrities lent their names to causes, Blake actively studied conservation biology and educated herself deeply on animal behavior. Small diamond private life and personality. Amanda Blake was known for being fiercely private. Despite her fame, she never sought the spotlight off-screen. She rarely gave interviews unless it was to support a cause she was passionate about. Friends and coworkers described her as witty, grounded, and deeply empathetic. She had a dry sense of humor, enjoyed quiet evenings, and often preferred spending time with her animals rather than attending industry events. Her home was reportedly filled with rescued pets and wildlife, including exotic birds, cats, and big cats like her pet lion, Chemo, who once made headlines after being brought to the Gunsmoke set as a cub. Despite her privacy, she was intensely loyal. She maintained long friendships with Gunsmoke cast members and many of the crew, staying in touch decades after the show ended. Small diamond. Her death and its social significance. Amanda Blake's death in 1989 stunned many fans, not just because she passed at 60, but because of the cause, complications from AIDS-related hepatitis. At the time, AIDS was still surrounded by intense stigma, and few celebrities had been publicly linked to the illness. Her death, later confirmed to be AIDS-related, brought national attention to the reality that the disease was not limited to specific demographics. Amanda's courage in facing the disease quietly, and the dignity with which she handled her illness.
Bye bye. Thanks for watching. Bye.